Okay, I think we are up. I'm gonna double check, make sure everything is going. Welcome. I just uh, choked on some incredibly spicy um, food. I wish I could show you everything that I got from this Korean restaurant. This place was like dynamite. I ordered 4 different things because I ordered my husband something as well because he's home today. And they gave us like 8 or 9 containers of food. I was worried that I had accidentally brought home someone else's order. But it's just they have like so much stuff. So I've got like cheesy corn and like kimchi and like some bean sprout salad. And those were just like appetizer sides that came with the meal. So I ordered like some glass noodles and I think it's pronounced bibimbap. My husband got bulgogi. So anyway, yeah, there's a ton of food here. I'm going to be eating for the next few weeks on this. So I'm looking at, because I know I had a couple of people give me some suggestions on some things that they'd like to talk about. How are y'all doing this week? It is almost Valentine's Day. So if you haven't gotten yourself or your significant other something nice, definitely go do that soon. You can spoil yourself too. You're allowed to buy yourself something nice. I am taking my kids to see their grandparents, so I'm giving my husband a nice opportunity to have some quiet time. So yeah, anyway, let's just hop into it. So everybody knows about toothbrush gate. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Does anybody like have any funny like things where people had like believe like I know it was too good to be true at first. When I first saw it, I just thought, it was just something silly. And then I realized it actually was just like either satirical or if it was clickbait or whatever. But there were actually people that thought it was legitimate. And I thought that was hilarious. It kind of just goes to show how misinformation can spread so quickly across the internet. And it kind of made me want to do like a social experiment on it to see if kind of just to see like what we could get to go viral. But I also don't want to tick people off because there were a lot of people that were upset about toothbrush gate. It was like, people are just doing like super clickbaity stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. They're just trying to get clicks and links and things like that. But yeah, it was a lot. So, oh my gosh, we have someone joining us. We might. Let's see. Let's see if I can get you on here. We'll see. This would be a Dino Nuggets first. If Brennan can hear me and chat at the same time. If not, that's fine. I'm always, free to sit here and goof off by myself. Hello? We'll see. We'll wait and see if he's able to do it. Because I want to see how this works too. I've never used, so I use StreamYard. And I've never been able to have an opportunity to see if someone, like when someone comes online. Oh, you got some more people too. Hey, welcome to the party. We were just talking about toothbrush gate. So as I was going on and talking about this, yeah, there were some people that were really ticked off at the fact that people were doing like super clickbaity stuff. And so I was just commenting that it was pretty funny that you could basically spread these lies across the internet. So if anybody wants to chime in on that and share some experience about what y'all, I see that James commented on YouTube that his wife thought it was real. I don't know. I think I told this to my husband. So I'll go ahead and remove y'all. And if you want to hop on, just post a comment, because I don't want to keep people on here if they're not interested in, being on video or audio. That's totally fine. Just post a comment or something if you'd like to join. And then, so I had some suggestions from Taylor, who was recommending to talk about breaking into the industry for career changing and recent graduates. So we'll talk about breaking into cybersecurity, which is like the buzzword hot topic sort of thing. And then what qualities and skills would I look for on my team? And then how to pick a discipline. That's a good one too, because there's so many options out there. Yeah, sorry, Jen. I'll try to, if you should be able to just click the link and it should just pop up, and then you can give like your rights to your audio and video. This is the first I've had like anybody join, so this is fun. Usually I'm just here talking to myself, which is totally fine. I'm like super awkward about it. So let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, breaking into cybersecurity. I posted on this before, and I made a comment on it on the last Dino Nuggets. And then I contributed to something on Hack the Box as well. I get so frustrated that it's basically it's a culture and a mentality at this point that we have set a precedent that, cyber is not an entry-level profession. And I do agree with that to some extent. However, we don't necessarily have to make it that way. It doesn't have to be that way. There can be roles that people fill that can be entry level. For example, if you were a company that focused your model on pen testing, for example, you offered pen testing as a service, why not take on entry-level individuals that have not had any job experience and put them under the umbrella of senior pen testers, and allow them to work on engagements and do things like that, where they're getting the experience, they're getting to act on a system. They're the same, they're within the company, so they should be operating on the same like statement of work that the seniors would be. But then the seniors get to, vet the process, make sure they're doing the right thing, make sure they've hit all the nails that like the customer and the client would expect. And then they're gaining experience, and it can be like that with any cyber position that you come across. So I don't understand why we don't do that more. It's a mentality thing. I saw someone post recently that they didn't even want to talk to people. I think I even commented on it too. They didn't even want to talk to people that didn't have like a knowledge of the fundamentals, or like was an entry level person. They're like, I'll help you build your cyber career if you're not entry level, if you've got some years of experience. Like, we do not need to be gatekeeping this information and this knowledge from people. And it sucks because people just want to. I heard something that said like, oh, people don't want to work. People do want to work. They're just not being afforded the opportunities. And with cybersecurity, we're still, technology in itself is still a relatively new field of, a relatively new career path. So cybersecurity even is younger, and we've got people that are, very, very senior in their careers in general, like dictating what like kind of like culture that we should have within this career field. So you've got people that have, you know, maybe 10 years of experience in technology, but they have a whole nother career underneath them. And, you know, they're at the point where they're like getting ready to retire, and they're telling entry level individuals either changing career paths or doing you know, getting out of graduation from either high school or college, that no, you can't enter this field because you don't have any experience. I think it's up to companies to basically change their culture on that. So that all to say, like, let me just gripe about that for a second. So that's the negative part of it. The positive part, let's talk about, okay, we can't change the culture overnight. Like, I've already beat that down. So the thing with you know, breaking into cyber, I've said before, you know, use your skills, and you have leverage experience that you do have if you're coming from a career path change. But if you're, you know, how do you do that if you are a high school student or a college student? You don't have any like previous skills. Maybe you had like a summer job or something, but that's not really like what I mean. And so I really think that people need to focus on targeting smaller businesses that are smaller cyber and tech businesses. Everybody wants to work at Google. Everybody wants to work at Amazon. But there are companies out there that are, I mean, I plug 6gen all the time. It's a smaller business. It's growing exponentially over, you know, a period of time. But try looking at companies that are hiring for certain roles that are not necessarily just like big FANG corporations. Because I will tell you from my experience with the hiring process in the role that I am now, a lot of the times I have heard that if you do not meet 100% of the minimum qualifications to apply at Google or to apply at Microsoft, you will not get to the interview stage. And I understand why that would be, because they are looking for you know, like they're looking for the specific person amongst thousands of applications, but not as many people are applying for roles at, you know, smaller companies, maybe banks. I honestly looked up to see, because I love Chipotle. If you're new here, I love Chipotle. If you're not, that's not surprising to you. So I looked up to see if Chipotle had an IT team, and they do. And so, like, Chipotle is a big name, right? But there are places out there that you have maybe never heard of, or like you wouldn't expect, like, oh yeah, they're big in the IT field. Everybody's got IT, everybody's got security. You can start out at companies that aren't necessarily like broaden your horizons with the companies that you're looking for. And then, you know, I feel like a lot of times people get stuck looking when they're putting their resumes in. They get stuck because they're getting these auto rejection letters, or they are not even making it to the interview stage, where they think, man, I'd really excel if they would just interview me. And that's like really a crappy place to be, because a lot of times you're not getting feedback from anybody about like, why am I getting rejected? Like, I haven't even spoken with you. I mean, I've had it happen. There have been places where I applied to that I still haven't heard from. And this is like 2 years later. Like, nobody ever contacted me. Nobody rejected me or anything. So I'm sure my resume is just sitting in a pool of their stuff, just waiting for like, oh, well, we thought that you might be qualified for this. Okay, well, you could have told me that, you know, years ago. So I digress. There's a couple of comments on here, and I wanted to look through them. MSPs, Barrick says, is a good one to get your foot in the door. That's true. And yeah, communicate. Like, people want to say, oh, well, you know, let's stop talking about soft skills and in cybersecurity. And you know, we need the technical skills and stuff. Okay, well, it's a balance. It really is a balance between, you know, having the technical competency and understanding like what you're doing. But I work in I work in an organization that sometimes I come across people that don't know how to translate like tech jargon. So they don't know how to speak to other people about technology and about security. They're like, oh, well, you know, they might say like some really technical terms, and then it's leaving their audience who they might be speaking to that's maybe not in the like tech community. Like, what are you saying? Like, and it gets confusing, and then they're not there. There's always the joke that cybersecurity people, hackers, things like that, they're always like these people that are like super socially awkward, like sitting behind their desks in their mom's basement, right? Like, that's the stigma that the hacker used to be, is like, you know, some dark basement dweller troll that lives under a bridge, right? But now that things like security are becoming more prevalently talked about, you have to find people that can speak intelligently and communicate what is going on to people who are not in the tech industry. So like, you can tell me soft skills are not important, but they are. Again, it's hard to flex those skills if you can't get an interview, though. So I'll go back to, you know, try to target maybe smaller businesses and things like that, just to get your like foot in the door. Once you land that role or something, and it doesn't have to be help desk. Everybody says, oh, you know, it needs to be help desk. You can get an entry level cybersecurity role at a company as long as you meet qualifications that would precede it, such as maybe they want you to have a certification, or maybe they want you to prove that you have knowledge in a certain skill because you did a lot of like, you know, hack the box or try hack me, and you know, you can produce a report. Like, something that you could do is like, hey, I didn't get a chance to pen test, but I did this hack the box you know, module where I wrote up this this walkthrough for it, and then post that online. Use the tools that are online as your like online portfolio, because if you don't have like the hey, I worked at this job from this time to this time, but you have a large portfolio online, that could be something that would be available for people to look at and see, okay, they definitely know what they're talking about. They have skills in that general vicinity. Mm-hmm. Mm. So I'm gonna leave it at that, because I could beat that one down all day long, and I think everybody has covered it quite a bit. I do think that colleges are working on programs to help better position their students in the field when they get out and they're ready to graduate and get their first job. I do think that they are working on that. I think it still needs to target high school, but I'm not quite sure. It's something that I've been chewing on this past week. I'm not quite sure what that looks like. I'd like to, you know, figure out a way to meet that need, but I don't think we're there yet. So if you guys have any ideas of how to get, maybe let's just target one audience, and let's say high school. How do you get high schoolers interested in tech, and maybe, you know, offensive security, defensive security? Is it by way of teaching them about it? Is it by way of making things look, you know, super glamorous or something? Like, I don't know what the I don't know what the answer is to that. And so I want y'all's input. Something that I have spoken a lot to people about recently is like, everybody hates TikTok, but like that's where people are. And that's where like that age group is. And I wonder if we need to start. I'm not on TikTok, but I have heard that people are on TikTok and they're doing like cybersecurity stuff, but it's all like, oh, how to get a job, how to do this. And like, what if we show them like, hey, this is how I can find your information online. So like, this is how you need to do something to conceal yourself or conceal your identity or keep your data safe. I mean, I don't know if people necessarily want to, teach their kids hacking and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. But maybe make it a social aspect where it's like you need to keep yourself safeguarded and keep, there when we elect a new president of the United States in 20 years, 30 years, whatever that might be, all that social media, it's already starting to come and hit people at a political, like, that are running for political office, things that they said, things that they did. It's all documented online. And also, I don't think kids understand quite how like predators can find themselves online and find out where they live and find out their phone numbers, even if they're just talking to them on like Facebook or TikTok or whatever. So a couple suggestions are clubs, career events. Yeah, career events. Talking to schools about speaking at relevant clubs. Yeah. But then I guess the question is you got to get people interested in wanting to join that club. But I definitely like the idea of a career day because you're not going to always have people that are like going to seek you out, right? Like you just got to put it in their face and just like, kind of get them the information whether they want it to or not, which is kind of why I was talking about like targeting TikTok and Instagram. Because it's cool that you have all of this information about how you can get a job in cybersecurity, but like, let me tell you how I can find out exactly who you are, where you are. I can I can cross-reference geolocations based on certain metadata that I can find in your pictures. And I can give you this portfolio of you. Okay, you're a 14-year-old. How does sharing that information with you, I guess, facilitate you making sure that you are keeping yourself safe online? So maybe that's more of the direction that we need to go. And then of course, if people see that and they're like, oh, like OSINT, like I didn't know that I could do all of that OSINT stuff. And then maybe it gets people interested in targeting that as a career. Or maybe on the, the opposite side of like being like some sort of law enforcement, FBI, state BI, whatever. And I missed James' comment from YouTube about circling back to, companies not wanting entry level people. He says that companies, I'm just going to put it up here. I can add it. Companies don't want to take time and money to train new people. That's absolutely true. It is more expensive. I have always heard this, and I don't know if it's like what the statistics are behind it. I have always heard that it takes more money and more time to train a new employee than to cross-train an existing employee. Because you're talking about benefits, you're talking about, pay, and if you have to get people certified and stuff. So, it's time and money, and it's a business thing, which is why I kind of went into, target smaller businesses, because the culture is more friendly to individuals that are just trying to genuinely enter the workforce. I like this one. So I've seen a couple of Instagram reels. There's one guy that has like an MBA and his niche is homeland security. So he goes on Instagram and he will like debunk certain, cyber intel things. And he also does like some stuff like that. And it may be the same person that you and I are both thinking of. He just has some cool stuff on there, but he is the only one that I have seen that is on like TikTok or Instagram that's like, putting real information out and not just like the fluffy, like, oh, I made, 6 figures in cybersecurity. It's like, okay, that's cool. But like, let's get to the truth about like stuff that's out there, because it's really scary. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you have not been on the dark web and seen some of the stuff that's out there and the things that people are willing to sell and the things that people are trying to make money off of, it is like, it's pretty wild. It's a youth pastor, Ryan. That does sound familiar. That does sound familiar, but yeah, it was he's a young guy. He just does a lot of really cool stuff. And I think that's the kind of like social media is not going anywhere. I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, how do we leverage what's available to better protect others? So Barrick shared this YouTube. I don't know if I can open it right now. So if you're interested in Youth Pastor Ryan, this is one of his channel. Okay. Let's go to some of the other suggestions that were topics to talk about. Qualities and skills to look for on an ideal team that I might be a part of. Well, we already talked about communication, so that's one thing. Something that we don't talk a lot about at all, and I guess they talk about it more in like the intelligence community. I don't know what this is. This looks like like the top of a jellyfish. And it's crunchy like cabbage. That was really interesting. It's a fun thing about doing this Dino Nuggets thing. I have tried to, with, respect to the last video that I did, which was literally eating Dino Nuggets, which was really boring. I've been trying to try new foods, new ethnicities. So I have had Korean food before in Korea, but I didn't really like venture out and try anything new. I had like some like Korean ramen and stuff when I was there for a very short stint. So today I got like just everything, and I'm trying everything. I will eat anything once. So I don't know what I just ate. It was good. I don't know what kind of plant that was. I don't know. So I'm trying to venture out with all of these Dino Nuggets and try new things. So that's fun, and trying stuff in our local community. So skills on a team that are important. Report writing is huge. So communication, like verbal communication, is one thing, but also there are a lot of times where we have to develop products for clients, or and I'm not talking about like master's degree reports or like dissertations and stuff. I'm talking about like presenting a product for someone that doesn't speak tech speak, and putting into words what you have, if you're doing a pen test engagement, what you have found, what that means. Like, okay, port 80 is open. Okay, well, I don't know what port 80 is. Like, why is it important that port 80 is open? Oh, well, port 80 is something that you would typically host like an HTTP server out of, or it's something that you would like host something online to. And if you weren't trying to host like a website or a domain, you might want to close that, just because, sometimes they might have not even realized that they were hosting something, and whatever they were hosting might be vulnerable, right? And they didn't necessarily want to host something. Or, hey, port 23 is open. Okay, well, that's like that's exploitable. So let's like close that up because you don't need that open. So report writing in both the red and the blue space is important because it can be in the form of a short report, or it can be in the form of like a big, um, long walkthrough of like what you did and what those results translate to. Because when you think about cyber reports that we would write, you're going to write them basically like you would a school report. You have an introduction. This is what I was going to do. This is what I intended to do. And then you're going to have a this is what I did. So that's like the, meat and potatoes of your report. And then you're going to have a conclusion where you're going to basically reaffirm what you just did, maybe give an analysis or explain like what happened, and then give that to a customer. So being able to write concisely and use words that are not necessarily tech words to explain, it goes back to communication, but there's a difference between verbal and written communication. My screen keeps blurring in and out. I thought it was my eyes. And then in a team, I also would want people who are, there's a difference between being easy to work with or being, a friendly person to work with. You can be both of those things while being either extroverted or introverted. I am a very introverted person. Now, when we say like, oh, that person is introverted, it's easy to assume that that person wouldn't be easy to work with because they don't communicate well, maybe, or they don't talk very often, things like that. It's easy to get wrapped up in that assumption. But what I mean by that is someone who is considerate of others' time, and has some of the, same values that I do. And that goes to a culture thing. As a company, you would want to hire people that align with the values that you've set forth. I don't know. What other things do you guys think? Those are the couple of things that come off the top of my head when we're talking about skills to bring to the team that maybe aren't like tech skills. If you guys have any, because I know y'all work for like corporations where you might be on like a specific team. So if you guys have other like skills that you think are important, especially when it comes to a cyber team, like to function properly. So. And if you are hanging out later tonight, I am going to go live and try to get back on Hack the Box and get the stupid broker box. So I'll get back on and do some more offensive snark after dark later tonight. So if you guys want to come back and do that with me, that would be fun, because I sucked at it. It was so bad, and it was so embarrassing because it was my first one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I look like an idiot. Like, of course I just did, like, I can say, oh, I did 3 boxes. I did 3 offset boxes earlier this week, but then I get online and I'm showing you that like I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, that was pretty embarrassing, but I'm not embarrassed because that's what it's about. It's about being like putting yourself out there and showing that like this stuff is hard. It's not easy. So hiring on a culture fit, that's true. Yeah, business revolves around money. And that's why I think layoffs are hard, right? They're not fun for anybody. They are life-changing. They are, mental, like blows to the face sometimes. But at the end of the day, things are just business. And that's what's, that is what corporations are going to keep in mind. Like, you can create a culture of being a family. Okay. But at the end of the day, business is business. And that is a really harsh reality that people want to buck. And when layoffs are done improperly and they are not taken, into account, like the human aspect of it, then yes, I totally understand that perspective. But when cuts are made and positions are dropped and teams are realigned, like, it's an unfortunate reality that, like, business revolves around money. So you really, as a cyber professional, need to show up to whatever job. I do it every day and kind of prove your worth. Not to say that that's like the best way to put it. I don't like the way that comes out, because you are valuable as an asset to any company, but companies don't see it that way sometimes. So I show up every day with the mentality that I'm going to do something that shows, hey, I have contributed. This is what I can contribute. And then also, trying to contribute to things outside of work, like what I'm doing now, and, setting up my website and sharing, useful resources. Because if in the, sad, unfortunate real life that I were to lose my job, I have an outward portfolio and an outward presence to be able to hopefully bounce back quicker than I would otherwise. But yeah, it's just business, which is not a fun reality, but it is reality. All right. Okay, so I did see Barrick's comment about the color wheel, which I don't know if I think I've probably seen it, but I don't know if I've seen it off the top of my head. But if you guys look up the cyber color wheel, I'm actually going to look it up right now. So talking about finding like your niche, in like whatever discipline that you're looking for, within cybersecurity. Oh, okay. Yes, I have seen this. So you can go look it up yourself, but it's got like white team in the middle, and then surrounding it on the wheels, just like spokes, I guess, for like in a bicycle term. You've got your red team, blue team, purple team, all of your teams. So that's really helpful, because when you figure out what like major discipline that you want to get into, like I want to do red team, which might not necessarily be on a red team. You could do, you could say just offensive security. And then within offensive security, there are a ton of different things that you can do. You can do pen testing, you can do vulnerability assessments, you can do red team. In defensive security, there's incident response, there's SOC analysts, there's digital, and media forensics. There's like, so basically picking a major discipline and then branching off into like what the jobs in that discipline are. So I like that. I think I should do something with this color wheel to make it a little bit more to expand upon that. That would be something that would be like interesting to do, is taking that wheel and then putting like the jobs lined in. And I don't know if there's something out there right now. I'll have to look and see, but putting, the job roles and stuff in those specific like major domains, that would be maybe a helpful resource for people that are looking to do that. And then I always put this out here. I always put this link, the security certification roadmap. This talks about certifications specifically. So once you've found your your niche that you've decided, hey, I want to do pen testing or I want to do incident response, you can go down here to this link, and I think it needs to be updated. But I think for the most part, it's fairly accurate. It is a super great tool to identify what certifications you might want to look at getting for the roles that you're looking at filling. So like if you wanted to do security, or if you wanted to do something like the incident response, you might want to start with security plus, and then you might want to do, a SANS or equivalent certification that deals with, incident handling and stuff like that. So, excuse me. So something like that would be really useful, and maybe somewhere, and y'all can tell me if there is there something that some resource out online that currently bridges these thought processes together? Because if there's not, that would be something great that we could develop that basically says, okay, when you decide, like, hey, I've decided I want to do cybersecurity. My hair all caught up with me. I've decided I want to do cybersecurity. And then you go, and there's like a starting point of like, well, what domain do I want to do? Okay, well, here's all the information about all the domains. And, you've got the color wheel. And then you're like, okay, well, I kind of like, what this describes. And then you got a list of like jobs that fall within that domain. And then you're like, okay, like I've decided that I want to be, I mean, you could literally pick whatever job, a pen tester. I want to be a pen tester. Then you're like, okay, cool. You've decided that you wanted to be a pen tester. Here's what you need to do next. You need to go look at maybe doing the OSCP or, PNPT or something like that. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, then I got my certification. So now what? Like, what jobs should where should I apply and stuff? Like, I don't know. Just like that resource, would be helpful. So if you think that it would be helpful, maybe that's something that I can put together. Yeah. I was reading this comment. Yeah, I think you're right. I haven't seen any like free resources out there that have like met that need. So I'm not quite sure if there is something that I'm missing that maybe I just haven't looked for. But yeah, it's a lot of people like trying to sell their own stuff. Which, I see. I'll have to check out Immersive Lab too. Because I'm familiar with them, but I don't think that I ever, like, this is the first time that I've had this thought process. So I don't think that I've ever like really done the research to look up and see if this already exists or not. Cool. I'm getting a lot of food eaten today. I'm really proud of myself. I was really trying hard to make sure that I actually ate. Because sometimes I get on here and I talk and then I forget to eat. And then I spend the next hour after this hour eating my food. So, yeah. So what other resources do you think like need to be developed that need to be put out there? Or do you think there's anything that like is lacking in, I guess educating or giving feedback to people? Like I talk about that cyber roadmap or whatever that could be useful. But if you guys think, what other resources could we put out there? Hopefully I can get another infographic out about another tool. If you guys have any recommendations, I've got one in my head right now that I was going to do. But if you guys have any other like offensive security, defensive security tools for the infographics that you'd like to see, let me know so I can put those on like my note sheet so I can get those out. Because those seem to be well received. and hopefully they're helpful to people. So obviously that's kind of the whole point of doing this. um, but yeah, I got my Chrome Dino shirt on today too. I wore it to work. Kind of it's the bridge between my googliness and my security rexiness. So I'm all dinosaured out. Also, I have to show you this because this is the goofiest thing ever. My husband made me like a terrarium for dinosaurs. I know it's kind of like wonky in the green screen, but we've got some like toy dinosaurs in here, and this was like a fishbowl or something from a drink that we bought, and we had these little toy dinosaurs, and he grabbed some moss from outside and decided to make a dinosaur terrarium because he was bored one day. So now we have it sitting right next to, I've got it right on my desk right here. So that was pretty funny. Do y'all have like, I know that Jen likes raccoons. Do you guys have any like funny mascots at it? Like you like to, like my desk at work is all full of cats. My desk at home is all full of dinosaurs. So it's just one of those like goofy quirks. If y'all haven't tried Korean food, like go get you some. This stuff is good. I think next time I'll get Vietnamese because I've been craving. I'm gonna pho. It's the soup. I've been craving it. And of course I was second guessing if I was going to try to say it or not. Because with these dishes, I will butcher the name. I was reading the menu for this Korean restaurant, and all of the names of the food were in Korean, obviously. And they were kind enough to translate it on the menu. So that was wonderful. But I didn't, there were no name translations. There were only descriptions. So it was like, like a bulgogi, like what it is in a description. But if you didn't know what title to call it, like I didn't want to just say, one of them was like marinated chicken with steamed rice and vegetables or something. And I didn't want to just say that because that was like confusing as well. But the woman was so kind and she was like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like, I really appreciate it. So yeah. And if, I get soup next time, that'll be good, a good one. And I gotta get Chipotle again. That was my first Dino Nuggets, was Chipotle. And I'm having a really hard time trying to cut this egg with my chopsticks. I'm good at using chopsticks, but I'm not good at cutting. Oh well. I'll try again later when I'm not on camera looking like crazy. So let's see, what other cyber topics other than so resources that you'd like to see built out, and then tools for infographics. And the infographics are great to create, but they do take a while because I want to put, for one, I want to make sure that they look visually appealing. So it's easy to read, but not like too overwhelming where there's too much stuff going on. At the same time, I'm also making sure that my commands are correct, and then I'm making sure that I'm doing research on things that I don't know, to make sure that the information that I'm giving to you is accurate. So that takes time as well. So unfortunately, the infographics are not things that I can just pull out like, super quickly. But I guess that's fine because that means that the quality over quantity will be better. So, it just is what it is. I don't want to just put out a bunch of just garbage because that's not helpful for anybody, but it's also not worth my time to just put out a bunch of stuff. I'm not here to constantly put out stuff. I want to do right by you and right by anybody else that comes across it and say, this is actually quality work, because I have a high, I have high expectations for what I put out on the internet. Except for if it's offensive snark after dark. That's just like going wild. But it's Friday night hacking, so, well, at least it has been Friday night hacking. I will do other nights when I get time, I guess. It's just kind of whenever I want to sit down and do hack the box. Or, you know, I don't think that you, and I say hack the box because OffSec has some really strict terms on what you can and can't share, which, you know, comes in the form of write-ups and streaming and things like that. And you can't stream anything OffSec. They won't let you. I did ask specifically if I could, but they were like, no. I was like, fine, no help for you. So I'll just do it on Hack the Box because they do have like a segment of things that you're allowed to stream and put out. So, you know, we'll just keep doing that. A toothbrush gate infograph. Yeah, that would be great. I want to see how, there is so much information out there. And this will lead me into my next thing that I want to talk about, which just popped into my head. There's so much information out there. I don't know where the rumor started. I want to know where the rumor started. And then I want to know like the time. I want to see like the statistics on how long it took for this to go like viral, because it definitely went viral. And it was released before I even saw like whatever the original news article, whatever, whoever put something out. Like, I think originally it was not supposed to be a, hey, this happened. It was supposed to be a, hey, this could happen in a perfect world, like where we did all of these things. But it got so misconstrued where it was suddenly being said like, you know, someone DOSed something with all these toothbrushes. And I do remember we have spoken about it on Dino Nuggets, or maybe we haven't. I don't know. My stories are getting so confused because I hear so much stuff, but there was actually a time where someone took, I believe it was in Germany, someone took a bunch of cell phones and put them in a shopping cart and then created a traffic jam on Google Maps. And so that kind of like made me think of Toothbrushgate, made me think of this story, this traffic map situations, because of just the similarities. But I want to see like how fast I want to see the heat map of how fast it spread. But this brings me in, and I guess this is relevant to this weekend because in the US, it's Super Bowl and stuff is this weekend. And the Chiefs are playing, and Taylor Swift is like, you know, an honorary Chief, Kansas City Chief. So Taylor Swift had her, so basically an AI generated, or it was not real. A bunch of like racy photos, like I think they were nude photos, created of her and spread across the internet. And I did not know that this was a thing, but it's called hashtag suppression. And basically, all of her fans went onto Twitter. All of Taylor Swift's fans went onto Twitter, and they were using hashtags to, you know, put out other pictures, like pictures of puppies and kittens and rainbows and stuff. And they were using these hashtags of like hashtag Taylor Swift and, you know, whatever. And they were basically drowning out the nude photos that were going around so people didn't see them, because while they weren't real, it's still, you know, it's a horrible thing that happened. And they didn't want anybody to see them. And this is like, you know, this is like Swiftie Nation out here doing like information, like warfare dominance or whatever you want to call it. Like they're basically doing like disinformation blocking through like using these hashtags and like just going and just constantly like posting repeatedly to basically drown out the the nude photos. And so I thought that that was really interesting and cool because, for one, it makes sense, like, how you could do that. It makes sense that it's a thing, but I didn't know. I didn't know that it was a thing until someone explained it to me. And so that's like the power of the internet, where like that stuff can happen real fast. And so it just makes me think about Toothbrush Gate and how all of this information got spread really fast, and it's just like a wildfire, like a state that hasn't seen rain in years, and suddenly someone forgets to put out their cigarette, and now there's just a huge wildfire across the state. Like, that's what this Toothbrush Gate was like. I am still seeing news articles written like today about Toothbrush Gate, and not necessarily like, hey, this thing happened, but it was more along the, well, I worded that really badly. It wasn't saying, hey, Toothbrush Gate was a thing. It was saying, hey, this big like wildfire of information started happening around this like crazy toothbrush thing going on, and like dossing people. And so people are still writing articles about like, hey, look at how this information spread like crazy. So yeah, I want to see someone like pull up, where this all came from and how it all started. Because to me, it's just like, it's crazy. And nobody should be surprised that, there's like clickbaity stuff out there. Like, oh my gosh, BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed is the worst because they do this thing and they're like, oh, Britney Spears has cancer or something like that. Like, let's just say that. And then they'll go and say, like, somewhere in the article that it's like, oh, Britney Spears has a dog named Cancer. And it's like, doesn't have cancer, like the medical, thing, but like just something stupid like that, where it's like, come on, you just wanted the SEO for your blog post, but it works. I mean, so it's good business, I guess. Yeah, I don't think that it would have gotten the attention that it deserves. I think it was, I don't know. I guess the biggest thing is that it was so outlandish and crazy and goofy that by the time it caught wind of everybody, it was like, no, this can't be real. But then there were people that were like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world because, these toothbrushes, like, forget AI and forget robots, like toothbrushes. And so I think that it was just so crazy to think that would happen. And maybe it wouldn't have been as interesting if it was something other than toothbrushes. Like, toothbrushes sounds like the goofiest thing in the world, but I do know that there are Bluetooth brushes, maybe, or something that has like, they used to have those toothbrushes that have like, you brush your teeth and they'll sing to you, like you can hear it in your head. They call it like tooth tunes or something. But I think that they have had like Bluetooth toothbrushes maybe, but like, why would you need a Wi-Fi toothbrush? Now, we have a ton of Internet of Things. And so there are a ton of things that's like out there that doesn't need Wi-Fi, but it's like a smoker, an oven, things that you would turn on remotely. And I think that's why they have those capabilities. So I do understand like the intent there. But I don't know why you would need to turn on your toothbrush remotely or check to see how you've been brushing your teeth lately. Like, maybe for kids, parents trying to track their kids' brushing habits. Like, still, it's unnecessary. You don't need it. So I've been holding this piece of egg in my chopsticks for like the past 10 minutes, just, talking. And I'm going to go finish my food. And yeah, we'll do another Dino Nuggets next month. And bring me your questions, bring me things that you want to talk about. If you do want to jump on, clearly I have the capability, the links work today. So I think, I know that some people were having an issue with it, but some people did hop on. So I do have the ability to put people on. So if you want to sit down and chat and do that would be awesome. But thanks. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.